The most intense day of the year takes place when the sun meets Pluto in the sky. Get ready to feel it all, to feel it with intensity, and in some cases, overwhelmingly so. Now, intensity means different things to different people. Some of us are adrenaline intensity junkies. We just might chase it. Intensity means different things to different people. Well, whatever it means to you, you are about to feel it in the most intense day of the year. When the sun meets Pluto in the sky, well, this can be a game changer. It invites us to get honest, to feel it all, to realize what stays and what goes, to realize what isn't working, what's draining us, what's tiring us on a soul level, and where it is that maybe we're pushing really hard for something that isn't meant to go any further. This is a very all or nothing energy, but the thing is, very often, life has a lot more nuance than we give it credit for, but energy like this says we're not likely to see it. It's important to be especially kind and gentle with ourselves and, if possible, with others. For some, it's going to feel like people come or go, people behave in ways that are especially dramatic, unfair, where it is that there are certain connections where we feel that situations are abusive or manipulative in some way. I'm so sorry to say we may feel an awakening of that at this time. But for all that, there's also the real potential here that we just might have a catalyst moment, a moment that serves to move through our lives with a sweeping sense of all that could change, and in some cases very quickly. It's going to be rooted in some truth, but more importantly, rooted in what it is that is no longer acceptable to us, what it is that we've given way too much energy to, that we now feel drained. Well, this is where we start to realize the power of conservation, the power of focusing in on ourselves, and the power of rebuilding. The wonderful thing about being human is we have the ability to transform and to re-emerge, to reinvent. Where it is that we must, we do. Where it is that it feels right, we will. But it is in these very moments that we come to understand something about what we're really made of, what's really going on within us, and what is at our core, and where it is that we are guided by trust in the universe that what stays will be good and what is not good for us will leave. Well, it becomes that much more likely that we're able to recognize the opportunity. The important way of navigating this time is try not to hold on to anything too tightly, but also know that whatever it is in our lives, it has a will of its own now. Our own feelings may feel inconvenient and have a will of their own as well. And so, I like to say, pace yourself and be yourself. That's going to be really hard to do, and yet that is what we must do if we're going to move through the sun meeting Pluto in the sky. There are two faces of Pluto meeting the sun. One is empowered, one is honest and real and clear. The other is filled with betrayal and uncertainty and maybe even profound disappointment as well. Regardless of what it needs to be for you, remember that this energy is honest. And all of us are feeling an energy of extremes at this time. So it's also a good time to be patient with yourself and others. It can be a time when a lot of us are very dramatic, if not overly dramatic, but even within that, there's something real there. That doesn't mean we need to take on anybody else's choices or decisions or behaviors as our own. Far from it. But it does provide us an opportunity to get honest with ourselves about what we give and what we get to the people, places, things, and situations in our lives, and whether or not it's still working for us. Well, that's what starts to become abundantly clear now. Now, what area of life you are likely to feel all the feels, all the energies, the ups and downs, and all the extremes? Well, it does depend on your sun, moon, and rising sign. Take all three into consideration and then synthesize the information to make it unique to you. And of course, for more horoscopes, check out my YouTube channel, Nadiya Shah, and the Superstar Space over at thefutureismagical.com. Aries, friendships, group alliances, where you've given way too much to a particular group endeavor, where it is that a friend has required way too much. Well, have you been filled in the process as well? All of that starts to become a whole lot more clear. Now, for some, this is going to be awareness around power struggles, power games, and where it is perhaps someone you considered a friend really hasn't been very fair to you, maybe even hasn't been very nice to you, and a dramatic display might play out here. But for all that, even that has something honest within it. It is now that you get to decide who stays and who goes, who's a true friend to you and maybe who isn't, and where certain group endeavors bring a genuine sense of valuing your contribution or not. Because if the case is that you don't feel appreciated, that you're giving way more than you're getting back, well, this is a time that can be very all or nothing. Either you're going to be that much more all in, or you're going to cut your losses and go another way. Taurus, the energy is nothing less than absolutely ambitious. Whether that ambitious is career oriented or the ambition finds itself directed towards some goal or an alignment with what you believe your life purpose to be. You might find yourself digging in very deep to pull forward the energy and the focus that you need to see a project through to fruition. But this might also be a time of cutting your losses, of being honest with yourself about what isn't working, where it is that you've given so much that you now feel tired. You may need a brief moment to recoup some of those energies and cut your losses. Very dramatic behavior from bosses or people in positions of authority become possible here, and it's up to you to decide whether or not that works for you, because where people have already shown you they are toxic, that tendency seems especially strong now. Now, ultimately, all of this is leading you in a direction of understanding whether or not you can keep doing what you're doing, and whether or not the goals that you're aiming for really are worthy of you. Do they really inspire you? Do they even matter to you anymore? And from that place of personal honesty, you get to decide what does matter, to go another way, to make another choice. Where it is you've been very invested in a particular outcome, well, where it isn't working, it can feel that much more disappointing. And yet, it's almost like some closure might be needed so that even better, even more can come rushing in very quickly. Gemini, long distance travel, immigration, citizenship, higher learning, and legal matters. These are likely to come into focus in powerful ways for you now. Now, ultimately, this is about finding an appreciation, about your connection to the larger world, whether that's personal, philosophical, or quite literal. If you are doing any kind of long distance travel or you're involved in a legal matter, this is a time of honest evaluation. Journeys might feel downright tiring. Are they worth continuing? What is it that kicks up for you in the process? If it is that there's a legal matter, a higher education matter, either this is going to be a time when there's a resolution that feels a long time coming, or you realize that you've given a particular circumstance way too much energy, or you've given it your all. How much are you going to participate in a drama that maybe might not be of your creation? Or is it of your creation? Is it worth staying the course? Your answers are going to be uniquely your own. This part of the sky also has to do with your relationship with the world and the beliefs that guide your life, philosophical, spiritual, and political as well. This could be a time of either feeling challenged from outside of you, but also from within you. Either you're going to double down and find that much more commitment to whatever your chosen worldview might be, but it's likely going to come through a moment that feels like an all or nothing moment, a game changer of sorts. And it helps you to get honest about what you really believe and maybe what isn't working for you anymore. Whether you're using what you believe to feel strong through putting other people down, or it's bringing solace by how it is that it lifts you up, well, that's the perspective that's going to be your choice to make. Cancer, profound change, truth, transformation, regeneration, and matters having to do with financial resources. So grants, loans, bursaries, benefits you qualify for. So at least financially, it may not play out like that for many a Cancerian out there, but if that's you, well, this is a time when you're looking at either the resources you have available to you, or maybe you're trying to attract funding in some way, and you feel like you're really giving it your all to make that money come together for you. When we have such strong financial energy, it means that the money you need is there. Sometimes you're engaging spiritual lessons along the way, and in this case, those lessons might feel downright tiring to you in some way now. But for all that, it could also be that you're looking in a particular direction for those resources, and that ain't it. It isn't from there that it's meant to come together. At the very least, this energy will help you to get honest about where you are and how you feel about that and what your choices are. It's going to be very all or nothing in one way or another where it comes to trying to align yourself with a source of funding. However, I think most Cancerians are going to experience this not necessarily in financial matters, but more having to do with examining deeper truths about yourself and understanding what stays and what goes. It's about you engaging this energy that is deeply transformative, deeply empowering when you let it be honest, and especially being honest with you psychologically. So there are going to be closures that take place that very likely are self-initiated, and you're also becoming aware of the secrets that you keep that maybe are not yours to keep anymore. That's how profound a time this is. It is an alchemical process, nothing less. And for some, it just might feel like a rebirth of sorts takes place now. Leo, partnership and love. It has a will of its own. It has a fate of its own. Where it is that there are alliances where you feel that it isn't fair, you feel like someone hasn't been very nice to you, or maybe even been manipulative in some way, you're about to feel that all. Whether it's past or present, this is a turning point moment. And the all or nothing means, are you going to carry that resentment into your future or not? In some cases, people might come in that awaken you on a very deep level, a level that feels fated and passionate. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean long term. For others, this is going to be a notable closure, who it is that leaves now, regardless of how long they were actually around. It ends up changing you in one way or another. Regardless, these energies say your one-on-one alliances, well, they're here to teach you something about you. So keep the lessons about you, not necessarily on the behavior or choices of another. It doesn't really say anything about you, what they decided, whether these are business partnerships or professional alliances. A rebirth of sorts must take place if it's going to navigate strong into the future. Virgo, clients, customers, coworkers, immediate supervisors, and the type of work that you do, along with your health-related habits, that's all covered in this part of the sky. And so if you know that you have certain people, like I just mentioned, who are given to dramatic overtures or maybe can be manipulative, well, some of those toxic traits can kick up pretty strongly now. I'm so sorry to say, but I don't think this is going to be energy that is necessarily a surprise. But for all that, there's also a sense of potential here, a sense of excitement and hope and forward progress where you're getting really honest about the people in your life, but also the actual work that you're doing. How are you actually living day in and day out? And are you okay with it? Are you okay with continuing doing what it is that you're doing, whether it's for your work or otherwise? Or do you now want to do things different? Now, this could show up in terms of your health as well. A commitment towards being better, feeling better, can have you making very profound changes that get you in touch with what really matters, what's essential, what's going to help you to feel strong. That's what you're going for now. And you may be seeking advice in that regard. But this is the beginning of a deeply transformative process that is going to take slow, steady, patient steps to fully reveal itself. Libra, romance, flirtation, what the heart truly wants in every area of life, fulfillment, and your own fertility, the children in your life. So this is a very rich, heart-oriented part of the sky, a flirtation now. However simple it might look on the surface, well, it has a deep impact, an ability to transform you on profound levels. But it's also possible that a flirtation either goes from 0 to 100 very quickly. Some Libras are really going to enjoy that, find the intensity alluring and addictive, but others might find themselves in a flirtation that does not feel good at all. I'm so sorry to say, but it does happen. Now, ultimately, these energies are about helping you to get honest about what you're really wanting in your heart of hearts, what love is for you, and what and whom you're attracted to. For all that, these energies might not work out that way. This might play out in terms of a creative project, something you've given a lot of time and energy to. Is it something that's meant to go further? Is it something that's meant to be shared, to make an impact? Well, this is a big turning point moment, a moment of honesty for you in that regard. Now, a matter having to do with children you have, children you want, might come into focus. You're making a decisive choice. Some pathway, well, it's going to adjust ultimately by understanding what's actually going to help you to be that much more effective, to help you to become the type of steward to the children in your life that you desire to be. Scorpio, home, the past, and your living situation become highlighted here, and also your relationship with your family of origin. If you know that there is some area there, some people there where there's some contention, expect some of that to be pushed on, triggered, buttons getting pushed at this time. I'm so sorry to say, but it does happen. But you can practice self-care and decide what types of situations you're going to put yourself in and where you're going to remove yourself and what sense you're going to make of it. For all that, though, it might be now that you feel frustrated around a home-related matter. Buying, selling, moving, attracting a new roommate. It might feel imperative to you in some way, or maybe you've been really pushing, trying to make one of these changes happen, and instead the universe is saying, be patient and pace yourself. This might orient you around your past. You're about to see it very differently in some way, and that can be a very transformative perception that reconciles you with the past, changes your perception of it, and frees you from any regret or guilt. As you understand what matters, you're able to then launch yourself towards where you're going next. Sagittarius, the siblings, cousins, and neighbors in your life may feel like they want your attention, perhaps very quickly, or maybe they need it. Now, if you know that one of these people is given to dramatic overtures or displays, well, some of that might kick up very strongly at this time. And you get to decide how much you're going to participate. And if one of these people is inclined to push your buttons in some way, trigger some deep stuff, well, it's up to you to decide how you're going to practice self-care at this time. But for all that, this energy might also play out in terms of your understanding of what you're learning, what it is you might be teaching others, what it is that you're processing, wanting to understand, especially on a level of mind. This can be energy that allows you to focus profoundly so on what really matters on a level of mind. If you have something to express, if you have something to share, you just might find your words especially poignant, but they might also be cutting. So choose them wisely. Capricorn, money you earn, money you spend, self-love, and self-esteem. So some Capricorns might experience this energy in the context of your money. And when we have such strong financial energy, it means that the money you need is there. But you may be pouring a lot of yourself trying to make some financial situation more of a reality or to make progress on it on some front. This is energy that asks you to be honest about whether a particular endeavor really is worth it. Is it going to be as profitable as you think it is? Are you making money in a way that just isn't working for you anymore, is asking way too much, or is tiring you out or challenging your ethics? Well, all of that starts to stir very strongly if that is the case. But where it is that you're doing something where your soul feels right with what it is that you are doing and what it is that you are pursuing, well, this is where you get to that deeper truth. You find that understanding that much more at the core of you. and you find a way to then move forward, to decide if you're going to keep going on a path or if you're going to adjust course towards something that feels like a more authentic expression. For all that, lots of Capricorns may not experience this financially at all. This might be more oriented around healthy self-love, healthy self-esteem, and you having to look at something honestly and deeply, even if it feels like it triggers something. It really is healing for you now as you get to some essential things within you that you deserve to feel good about. Aquarius, identity, who you know yourself to be, what matters to you most and first. Get ready, because this is one of the first. We had this meeting last year in your sign as well, and you've got about 20 years of these meetings coming. And when we have this energy in your sign, it's like you are holding all the intensity, all the feels. But it's also a moment where you get to some deep truth about who you really are and what it is that you want to be different and what it is now that you're ready to accept where maybe you didn't before. Ultimately, these answers come down to you. What's worth dedicating yourself to? What's worth focusing yourself on? And what is the truth about who you really are? Where is it that you have betrayed that? And where it is that you're not willing to betray it anymore? Your answers just might surprise you, but it really is just one part of a remarkable 20-year journey ahead where you are going to truly feel that you are reborn or regenerated or in some way become something more than you were before. When the sun meets Pluto once a year in your sign for the next 2 decades, well, this represents an important moment, an exciting moment, a moment when emotions run very high, but is part of the journey towards a more authentic self. Pisces, soul, psyche, spirit. So much is happening underneath the surface now. So much is stirring within. This is a very restless energy, but in a very practical way, this can speak to the close of certain chapters, in some cases dramatically so, in some cases quickly so. Whether those chapters are of a past or present situation. And this can relate to just about any person, place, thing, or situation. It's also possible with this that something you didn't know, all of a sudden you know, and it brings a lot of energy to the surface, whether it's frustration, and maybe even for a very small percent of Pisceans out there, there might be unexpected feelings of betrayal. Now, the best way to use this energy really is about letting yourself feel what you need and then deciding you're not going to carry it into your future anymore. And in that way, you become free of the regret of whatever has been. You find a deeper forgiveness, not necessarily for anyone else, but at least you're able to move forward with yourself and your life. Dramatic closures are possible, but remember, whatever leaves now is actually really good for you. And it's all part of helping you to align that much more fully with how much more and so much more that you have yet to do in this lifetime. Thank you again for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.